Hello! Many of you have probably heard of sickle cell disease, but what you probably don't know and are a little confused about is all of the genetics and little details about this disease. So, I'm going to explain them for you. Let's go!
What is sickle cell disease? Sickle cell is a genetic disorder that affects the protein, hemoglobin, in red blood cells. Hemoglobin is really important because it is the protein that allows red blood cells to carry oxygen. Regular hemoglobin is flexible, but hemoglobin affected by sickle cell disease is stiff and rod-like, which causes the cell to become sickle-shaped. How does this person get the disease in the first place? The disease affects the hemoglobin beta gene of the 11th chromosome. The hemoglobin beta gene, also known as the HBB gene, is responsible for making all the beta globin that will later become hemoglobin. Normal beta globin produces hemoglobin A. The abnormal beta globin produces hemoglobin S, the type of hemoglobin that is found in cells with sickle cell disease. How this hemoglobin is produced is hemoglobin is composed of 4 main protein summits. 2 of these summits are controlled by the HBB gene. Each protein summit binds to a molecule called heme. Heme contains an iron molecule that allows oxygen to bind to the hemoglobin, allowing oxygen to be carried throughout the body. What causes you to get this gene on your 11th chromosome is determined by your parents and all of your ancestors. This is because sickle cell disease is autosomal recessive, meaning that in order for the trait to be expressed, you must have received the gene from both parents. If only one gene has mutation, then that person has codominance of the trait. This means that the gene is present in that person, so it can be passed down to their offspring, but the gene only affects about half of their red blood cells instead of the majority. Let's say one of your grandparents on your father's side has sickle cell disease, but your father's mother does not have the affected gene. Then your father and his siblings have a 100% chance of having codominance of the gene. If your mother's mother has codominance of the gene and your mother's father does not have the gene, then there is a 50% chance that their offspring will not have the affected gene and a 50% chance that they will have codominance of the gene. So, now let's say that both your parents are carriers of the gene. That means there is a 25% chance that you will not be affected, a 50% chance that you will have codominance of the affected gene, and a 25% chance that you will have both affected genes causing you to have sickle cell disease. Now let's talk about regional sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease is relatively common in African American and Latino populations. Why is this? Sickle cell codominance actually helps prevent against the contraction of malaria. Malaria is a disease transmitted by mosquitoes. These mosquitoes carry the parasite malaria, so when a person gets bitten, the parasite goes directly into the person's bloodstream and infects the red blood cells, making the person feel very ill. Heme oxygenase 1, which is an enzyme that people with at least one sickle cell gene mass produce, produces carbon monoxide, which interferes with the reproduction of cells that have been taken over by malaria parasites. Meaning, if you have codominance of sickle cell disease, then it is much harder for you to contract malaria. Meaning in areas with high amounts of mosquitoes, like Latin America and Africa, more people will have or have codominance of sickle cell disease because it will be harder for those with one sickle cell disease gene to contract malaria. The people who survive will more likely have codominance of sickle cell disease, which they will pass to their children, and their children will pass to their children, and you get the idea. All part of natural selection, thus making large populations have a specific gene mutation to help with survival.
Well, I hope I helped you better understand the genetics and evolution of sickle cell disease. See you next time!